You ever get that feeling that something's off? Well, take a look at the financial markets. Despite all the chaos in the world, they've been weirdly, unnervingly quiet. So today, we're going to dive into this deep, almost invisible change that's happening right under our noses. A transformation that, believe me, affects every single one of us.
It just doesn't feel right, does it? I mean, markets are supposed to be a reflection of our collective hopes and fears. But lately, they just seem to shrug off major world events. And that leads to this huge, nagging question. Have we actually conquered risk? Or is it just hiding somewhere we can't see it?
The mood right now can only be described as strikingly silent. Think about it. Volatility spikes that used to send shockwaves for days, well, now they just seem to fizzle out in a few hours. Huge dislocations get absorbed with this uncanny, almost eerie efficiency. This is not your father's stock market. It's something else entirely.
What you're looking at here is a fundamental shift in the market's whole personality. You know, on the left, that's the old market. All gut feelings, emotion, prone to total panic. But on the right, that's today's market. It's calculated, it's efficient, and it snaps back into place almost instantly. It's as if we've moved from a system driven by human psychology to one that feels, well, almost post-human.
Okay, so let's start digging. Where's the first clue? Well, it suggests that maybe, just maybe, this calm has been earned. It's possible the system itself has actually evolved, learned some really tough lessons from past crises and built itself into something stronger.
Right, so after the 2008 meltdown, regulators basically put the entire financial system on a strict diet. Banks now have to keep way more cash on hand, they have bigger safety cushions to absorb shocks, and risk management, it's not some back-office function anymore, it's right at the heart of every single trading decision. All this has made the big players a lot more disciplined and way less likely to hit the panic button.
But this isn't just a story about people being more careful. No way. Our next clue points to a much deeper change: the rise of the machines. A massive part of this new calm isn't about human instinct at all. It's about replacing that instinct with cold, hard math.
So, these algorithmic trading systems, they're designed to be perfectly rational. They don't get spooked by a scary headline, and they don't get greedy when things are going great. They just churn through mountains of data, weigh the odds, and pull the trigger on trades faster than any human possibly could. And on the surface, this seems great. It makes markets more efficient, more stable, but there's always a but.
And here it is. This is the hidden danger. When you have all these brilliant algorithms, all trained on similar data, all using similar models, well, they start to think alike. You lose that diverse ecosystem of different strategies, and what you get instead is a fragile, uniform hive mind. And think about the risk there. If one algorithm decides it's time to sell, they might all decide to sell, all at the same microsecond, triggering a flash crash before a single human even knows what's going on.
This brings us to a really dangerous paradox. The very systems that are tamping down the day-to-day bumps have created this illusion that risk has just been engineered away. And that leads to what's called systemic complacency. This widespread, dangerous overconfidence where investors go blind to new kinds of risk, all because the code is telling them, hey, don't worry, everything's fine.
Now for our third clue, and this one might be the biggest force shaping the market's mind today. It's this deep, baked-in belief that no matter how bad things get, the central banks will always, always ride to the rescue.
So in the world of risk, there's this thing called the left tail. That's just a fancy term for the absolute worst-case scenarios. We're talking 1929 or 2008 level catastrophes. For years now, through things like quantitative easing and emergency bailouts, central banks have jumped in to stop those disasters from happening. And in doing so, they've basically taught the market a lesson. The absolute worst is probably off the table. That tail has been squashed.
The upshot is something called a moral hazard of confidence. What it means is that investors aren't just pricing risk based on, how the economy is doing. They're pricing it based on their faith that they'll get rescued. It's a massive safety net for sure. But it also encourages everyone to take bigger and bigger risks. Because hey, why not? There's a backstop.
And here's the new wrinkle. Political pressure on institutions like the Federal Reserve is getting more intense. So what happens if the market starts to doubt its savior? If that belief in the ultimate backstop starts to crack, the foundation for all this calm could just crumble.
All right, so let's pull all these threads together. We've got a more disciplined system, we've got an algorithmic hive mind, and we've got a powerful central bank safety net. But there's one last clue we need to really understand the paradox at the heart of it all.
So where did all that wild, emotional, speculative energy actually go? Well, it turns out it didn't just disappear, it migrated. Just look at the difference here.
The little bar shows the engineered calm in traditional markets, and that towering bar, that's the absolute chaos of the crypto world. All that human fear and greed has simply found a new playground. Essentially, crypto has become a pressure valve for the whole system. All the high-risk, shoot-for-the-moon bets that used to cause wild swings in the stock market have been siphoned off. This transfer of what you could call nervous energy makes the traditional, institutional markets look way more stable than they really are. The volatility is still there, it's just happening somewhere else.
So let's put a bow on this. What does it all mean? The big takeaway here is that this isn't some short-term trend. We are living through a generational transformation. The fundamental rules of how markets work are being rewritten, from the tech they run on to the psychology of the people in them. And the craziest part? It's all happening so quietly. There was no big bang, no single event you can point to. This massive shift is unfolding day by day, hidden in the noise of data feeds, like a tectonic plate moving slowly, silently, deep beneath the surface.
And that brings us to the core paradox, the most important point of all. This silence, this eerie calm, we absolutely cannot mistake it for real stability. The very things that are suppressing volatility right now, the algorithms, the faith in the central banks, could be the exact things that amplify a crash later. When a real shock that nobody sees coming finally hits, all those systems built for calm could act in perfect, terrifying unison.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? We've built this incredible, complex system that gives us the illusion of control. It feels safe, it feels predictable, but it's so complex that not a single person on Earth truly understands how all the pieces will work together when things get really, really bad.
Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. We have engineered a world where risk has become harder and harder to see, almost invisible, but it's still there. It's just changed its shape. So the real question isn't if it's coming back, but when. And are we really ready for what it looks like when it does?